There are few better dishes than paella. It's got seafood, sausage, spices, lots of aromatics, all cooked with broth and wine in a wide, shallow pan that's made just for the job.
Most modern recipes are cooked indoor, but what most people don't know is that paella was originally made on the grill.
That's right. And that grill gives the dish a subtle smokiness and creates the ultra crisp rice crust that I love. It's called sauerkraut.
Yes, and we'll get there, Bridget. But the real key to paella is in the broth, because that's what infuses the rice with flavor. So we're gonna make a broth really quickly before we head out to the grill.
Sounds great.
And here I have a tablespoon of olive oil heating up in a medium saucepan over medium heat. And to this, we're gonna add, don't laugh, 5½ cloves of garlic.
Do they make half cloves of garlic, Julia?
No, they don't. What I've done is I've reserved that last ½ a clove, and we're going to use it to flavor the shrimp.
Okay, great.
So we're going to cook this for about a minute until it starts to stick a little bit to the bottom of the pan and turn a little golden. That takes about a minute. So the real flavor to any paella is the sofrito, which is a combination of onions, bell peppers, and tomatoes. But when you're cooking that out on the grill, it takes much too long to drive off that moisture and begin to caramelize. So we're gonna swap out those wet tomatoes for some tomato paste because it's already cooked down and it will deliver that hearty tomato flavor. Here I have 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. And along with that, we're gonna add some hot, smoky paprika.
That smells so good.
Yeah, doesn't it? So it's gonna add that little kick of spice, and of course that smoky flavor is gonna come through in the paella. It's been about a minute, and you can start to smell that
Sure can.
spice. Good. Now we're gonna add 4 cups of chicken broth. We're gonna use 1 bottle of our favorite clam juice. To this, we're gonna add a little sherry. Oh, I love the smell of sherry. It's sort of sweet and fragrant. So this is 2/3 of a cup of dry sherry. And last but not least, an optional ingredient that I'm opting in. It's the most expensive spice in the world. It's saffron. And of course, we have a lot of flavor going on here, so you don't need to add it. But I like its minerally fragrant flavor, so in it goes. That's just a nice hearty pinch. I'm just breaking up a little with my fingers before I add it in to help release its flavor. All right, so you can see this broth has come up to a good boil. So we're gonna set that aside off the heat. Now we're gonna focus on everything else that goes into paella. What I have here is 1.5 pounds of chicken thighs. And the chicken thighs work better than breasts because they can withstand the long cooking time on the grill without drying out. Now I trimmed these of fat and I cut them in half so they're a little bit more easy to maneuver on the grill. And we're just gonna season them with a little salt and pepper. And this is a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of pepper.
And that looks like kosher salt.
That is kosher salt. I'll flip these guys over. And that's it. These guys are ready for the grill. All right, next up, the shrimp. Now these are the big guys, the jumbos. And of course, we're gonna wanna peel and devein them. So to peel it, I just like to pull off the peel. And I start at the tail and work my way forward. And I'm gonna leave the tail on because I think it looks kind of cool. I don't like them when they're so naked all the time when you pull that tail off. Of course, you wanna cut right down the center of the top of the shrimp and you wanna look to see if there's that little vein, because that vein can taste kind of gross. And so I just like to take the tip of a paring knife and cut it off. That's 12 ounces of shrimp. And of course, I'm gonna season it before it goes on the grill. And this is a tablespoon of olive oil. And here's that ½ clove of garlic that I saved. A little more hot smoked paprika. This is 1/4 teaspoon. Last but not least, a little salt. That's 1/4 teaspoon. We're just gonna toss this together. This just gives that shrimp a little bit of extra flavor before you add it to the paella. And that looks good. Okay, those are ready for the grill. We're also gonna add some chorizo. Now this is 1 pound of chorizo, and it's the Spanish chorizo. So it's pre-cooked, and it's spicy, and it's gonna add good flavor. We're also gonna add some clams. Now these are little necks. We're gonna add 1 pound of these, and all you gotta do is rinse them off and give them a good scrub to make sure there's no sand hidden on the shells. And last but not least, we have arborio rice, which is from Italy, not Spain, which is where paella is from.
I like that, the Gina Lola Bridget of rice, right?
Yes, Italy. But real paella uses a medium grain rice, and this is a medium grain rice that you can easily find in the supermarket because it's used to make risotto. But the original rice for paella is either Bamba or Valencia, and if you can find these guys, have at it. They taste amazing, but they can be hard to find in the supermarkets, and arborio rice is a great stand-in.
All right, well, who knew? The Italians make great paella.
All right, so I've been heating up this grill for about 5 minutes. And you can see it's getting good and hot. Now that was a full chimney of charcoal. And on top of that, I scattered about 20 extra briquettes that will help maintain a really hot fire for a long time.
Sounds good.
So before we get cooking, I'm gonna clean and oil the grill. Of course, this grill looks pretty clean. I'm gonna give it a quick scrub down. As always, before you grill, we're gonna wipe that grill grate down with a little bit of vegetable oil. Now, before we start building the paella, I'm gonna grill the chicken quickly. That helps get the cooking started, but it also gives it some nice grill flavor. So I'm not gonna grill this chicken through completely. We're just gonna get some good grill marks and flavor on both sides. And it takes about 5 minutes. All right, so this chicken is lightly browned on both sides, which is just what we're looking for.
And like you said, we're not done cooking it though.
No, so I'm putting it back on the plate it was on, which was the raw chicken, which generally would be a no-no when you're grilling, but it's gonna go back into the paella to cook fully, so it's okay to reuse this plate. All right, so we're gonna set this chicken aside, and now it's time to get cooking. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this nice 15-inch paella plate right on the grill. And I'm gonna heat up a 1/4 cup of oil, and much like you're cooking inside, you wanna heat up the oil till it's shimmering before we add the vegetables.
Sounds great.
All right, so that oil is now shimmering, so it's time to add our vegetables. There's 1 onion, and here is 1/2 cup of roasted red peppers. And you remember we talked inside about the Spanish sofrito, which has bell peppers, but bell peppers take a long time to cook, so I'm using roasted red peppers instead. Last but not least, a little salt. This is 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And just as if you were sauteing inside on the stovetop, we're doing the same thing, but just outside here on the grill. And we're gonna cook these for about 5 minutes till the onions get nice and softened.
So what do you do if you don't have a paella pan? Not to worry, as long as you have a large roasting pan like this. This is also stovetop safe, meaning it can go on the grill. Now the idea here is that we're providing a very large cooking surface. What does that mean? Well, all that rice that it's eventually going to go in the bottom of our paella is going to have plenty of opportunity to develop into a deep, dark crust. So remember, if you don't have a paella pan, roasting pan will do the job.
All right, so those onions have wilted down, they're softened, and they're starting to caramelize, so it's time to add the rice. And again, this is 3 cups of arborio rice. We're gonna stir it around so it gets well coated by that oil. That'll help make that sauerkraut, but it also helps keep the rice from getting too sticky. And we're gonna put the chicken around the edge of the dish because the edge of this dish cooks a little more coolly. And so we don't want the chicken to overcook and turn dry, so it'll simmer around the edge. All right, the chicken's in place, time to add the broth.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, so I'm just gonna slowly pour this around.
I just got the best hint of saffron as soon as Julia took that lid right off the pot.
Doesn't that smell good?
Amazing.
Now I'm just gonna go back in, make sure the chicken is still around the edge. I'm also looking to make sure all the rice is submerged in the liquid, that there's none stuck on the edges of the pan or on top of the chicken. And she looks good. Now we're just gonna let this liquid come up to a full simmer before we add the rest of the ingredients. All right, that's come up to a solid simmer, and it's time to add the rest of our ingredients, starting with the shrimp. We're just gonna put the shrimp right in the middle of the pan.
It's like a paella pinwheel.
It is. Next, we're gonna add the clams, and I'm gonna put the clams in hinge side down so that when they pop open, they'll have plenty of room. Last but not least, we're gonna add a pound of chorizo that we've cut up into chunks.
Now, when's it going to be in my belly? That's what I want to know.
Well, about 15 minutes more on the grill. Every so often, I'm gonna give that paella pan a spin so that the crust on the bottom that you love so much is a nice, even golden brown. That's looking good.
Looking great.
The rice is almost tender, and it's time to add the last ingredient, the peas. Now, this is a cup of frozen peas that are thawed. I'm just gonna sprinkle them over the top of the paella. Of course, if we added these too soon, they'd be army green by the end, so just at the end is perfect. Now we're gonna put the lid on, and now we're gonna start to make that crust happen.
Yes.
So we're gonna put the lid on for about 5 minutes, and that's gonna evaporate the rest of that moisture, and you're gonna hear the rice start to sizzle. When you hear that sizzle, take the lid off, let it go for about 15 minutes longer, checking the crust. All right, so this paella has been cooking uncovered on the grill for about 15 minutes. I've been giving it a good spin every once in a while to make sure that sauerkraut is nice and evenly golden.
Julia, that is the most spectacular thing I've ever seen come off a grill.
I know, isn't it so impressive?
It's beautiful.
The one way to check the crust on the edge is just to dig in there a little bit. You see how it's coming. Oh, and you can see those nice dark bits on the bottom. Oh yeah. I'm not gonna disturb the whole crust. I'm gonna leave that in place. I'm gonna take the paella pan off the grill. And of course, I'm gonna cover it with foil to help keep it hot. All right, so this paella has been resting for about 10 minutes.
And I've been hungry for 10 minutes.
She's a beauty. Let me dig in here and get not only some of that good rice, but let me make sure I scrape up some of that amazing sauerkraut. And that is the whole reason to do it on the grill, because if you make paella in the oven, you're never gonna get this. It's only on the grill that you can get such a good sauerkraut. All right. Lemon? Yes, just a little bit. Look at that. And the flavor of the rice is just so deep and complex. It's spicy, a little bit tangy.
That is perfect. As it turns out, you don't need to head to Spain for amazing paella because your backyard grill is made for this recipe. Once you make a savory broth, cook everything evenly by placing the chicken thighs around the rim of the pan and then put the shellfish in the center. Top the dish with peas and chorizo, and don't forget that real prize, the golden crust of savory rice. So there you have it, from our test kitchen to your kitchen, a más excelente paella on the grill. Muy bueno.
Thanks for watching America's Test Kitchen. What'd you think?
Well, leave a comment and let us know which recipes you're excited to make, or you can just say hello.
You can find links to today's recipes and reviews in the video description.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
See you later.
I'll see you later.